This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Hey, sweetie. This is Isabel Melgarejo, and I'm your host for the Time to Care, the Caregivers podcast. And today I would like to talk about the holidays because holidays are around the corner, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot of things in your mind about the holidays and your role around the holidays. So let's get started. So, today I want to talk about a couple of things made myself the person who I am during the holidays. I am someone who can plan the best of parties and host everyone that wants to come, or I can decide to spend the holidays wherever I want to go and with whomever I want to be, or I can just be by myself. And this part of freedom didn't come by itself. I had to work for this kind of freedom, and I had to work to design the perfect holidays for me every single year. And that's exactly what I want to share with you, because we all need to learn how to enjoy the holidays the best way we want to enjoy them. And sometimes we feel like celebrating and making and attending huge parties or even hosting huge parties. And other times we feel like we don't want to see anybody. And there can be in betweens for everybody. There were two things that I have learned that have helped me a lot in regards of the holidays. I learned my first lesson when I was 20, and if you've been in the podcast, you may know that I became a caregiver when I was 20 and my dad passed. That year, the holidays were a whole thing because in December, my siblings, well, I don't remember exactly when, but my siblings decided that we were all going to spend Christmas with mom, that it was a very special day for her, and that we should be with her because it is her favorite holiday. So all of my siblings made plans to spend Christmas with mom, and that's what we did. We all spent Christmas with her. We had probably a very good time. I honestly don't remember much about that day, but we were all with her. And after Christmas, everybody went and did whatever they needed to do to spend New Year's with whomever they wanted to spend New Year's. And because I was still living with my parents then, I was left with the responsibility to find something to do and how to entertain mom and make sure that she would enjoy New Year's Eve. And from that moment, I decided that I didn't need anybody to spend the holidays the way I wanted them to be. That I was not going to fall into conventionalisms of having to attend family events or to do certain things. Because at that time, mom and I were responsible for baking cookies for all of the family, and there were some years that I was judged if someone didn't have enough cookies. I remember this year we baked everybody's favorite cookies. We always do them. And one of my siblings, I think he didn't get to try any of them. And he was really pissed. And I was like, well, you can bake them for yourself. Here is the recipe. Go ahead and do it and do them. And these kinds of things, I think everybody can relate to any of these stories, that instead of being a time of joy and happiness and a time to share with others and a time to be thankful for what we've received, instead of having these moments of joy and happiness, we fall into moments of stress and chaos. And this happens because for many families, we are expected to do certain things. So my siblings were expected to spend Christmas with mom, but they were also expected to spend New Year's with the other family, with their spouse's family, which led me to be responsible for a full holiday. And if I put myself back in the day, if I would have been married and I would have fallen into these conventionalisms, my mom would have stayed there by herself, alone. And that would have been probably very tough for her. So instead of thinking about what we need to do, back then I started thinking about what I wanted my holidays to look like. Ever since, I've invited my mom to be with me for all of the holidays if she wants to be here with me. There have been several years that she has spent both holidays with me, and there are times that she has spent none of the holidays with me. But it's always up to her, and it's always us deciding what we want to do, not conventionalisms, and it's not something that we're forced to do one way or another. It's just because we want to be together, or because or we do whatever we want to do. If we want to travel, we've been to several countries, we've spent Christmas in different places. And I think that's what the holidays should all be about doing what we really want to do and not doing what our families expect us to do, which leads me to the second part of this podcast and my second learning in life. A couple of years ago, I met my coach, Susan Hyatt, and I did one of her challenges, which is merry as fuck or something like that. But whatever it is, that this challenge is about creating the holidays that you really want to create for yourself. It was then, well, I have already cut ties doing a lot of stuff because I don't live close to my family anymore. So I was not responsible for baking cookies anymore, which was my responsibility since probably at the age of 4. I've always enjoyed baking. I love baking. You can find me baking. And I do love, and because I moved, I learned that I was not responsible for baking cookies for all of my family because they like them. But I would still be responsible for a lot of things. I still felt responsible for hosting or for doing whatever. I have felt responsible for many years for doing whatever either my family or my husband's family are expecting me to do. For Thanksgiving, I know that everybody cooks something and it's a full day of cooking. And I know that everybody enjoys these, but what if you don't like cooking? What if you don't enjoy that? And that's what this challenge taught me, that you have to say no to certain things, and you have to say no to those things that don't make you happy. And there are things, don't get me wrong, there are things that I really enjoy doing during the holidays. It's a season that really brings me a lot of joy. And it's a season that I really, really enjoy altogether. But that doesn't mean that I have to be there doing absolutely everything there is to do for everyone. So, these holidays, I would invite you to think about a couple of things that you don't like doing, or maybe you do, but you just don't want to do them this year. For me, it is baking. I won't be baking any cookies this year. So, for this year, we decided to spend Thanksgiving with my husband's family. And then we are ditching all the fancy dinners and we're ditching absolutely all the formalities, and we're just escaping to a cabin in the woods. We are saying no to being in a fancy setting with fancy tables and long tablecloths and long dresses and whatnot, and we are going to the woods to hike for a few days. We're taking our dog, and that's what we're doing for Christmas. And I don't think I would have been able to do this if I wouldn't have said yes to what I really wanted to do and no to everything else. I want to invite you to do the same thing. I want to invite you to stop doing the things that you really don't want to do. If you don't want to spend the holidays with your family or with your spouse's family, that's okay. And yes, it will be hard because when you set boundaries, people are not happy when you set boundaries. And that is part of life, but I think it's totally worth it to set boundaries and to say no to the things that we don't enjoy doing. Because instead of enjoying the holidays for what they are, we are just forced to live by the standards of society. And I think that is really sad because instead of having a full family enjoying the whole celebration in whatever way, and instead of having days in which we come together and enjoy each other's company, we are forced to do things that we don't necessarily like doing. And what wouldn't it be amazing if we were just to get together and enjoy our company in whatever capacity that we want to share that time with each other? I think that would be really, really good. I want to invite you to do the same. So, your homework for today is to think something that you don't want to do. That when you do it, you get really stressed, and just ditch it. That's good. I give you permission not to do that. And if people get mad or whatever, you can find other ways to do it. But just don't do it. I'm giving you permission not to do it, and hope you give yourself permission not to do it as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love if you could leave a 5-star review if you like this podcast. That would really help other people like you find this podcast and find the information that they need. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. So, see you next time.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.